Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin, and we're going to look at alts, specifically top caps, and not individually, but just as I suppose a bit of something interesting's going on. Reminds me a little bit like January, so we'll go into that shortly. So first of all, we're going to have a look at Bitcoin. It looks pretty sorry for itself. We have been waiting for this death cross to take place, and it does look very much like it's actually going to take place now. So what I was going to say about this is, even though this is a death cross, textbook death cross, which looks like it's going to be confirmed over the next 4 to 8 hours, so at some point today, we could make the argument that some of this move may already been priced in by this FUD wick, by this anomaly wick. You know, so this candle body here isn't your average normal thing that you'd see on a Bitcoin chart, not to that extent. So this was all shaping up nice and pretty good, and then we had that whole situation with the China blackouts, and then a domino effect of everybody getting liquidated, and then panic selling and blah blah blah. You know, so that's basically what caused a lot of this. Now, when you have such a steep and sharp move, it does basically bend and contort the way that the chart actually reads and looks. So I would make the case that even though death crosses can play out on a 4-hourly to a potential 35% retracement from the price action of where the death cross takes place, which would actually be really nasty if we measure that out. I mean, this could actually be potentially nasty. So that happens today. 35% retracement brings us to $35,000. I know what that sounds like. So like I said, let's put this into context. We could argue that a lot of this may have already been priced into that death cross, or the death cross might not be as relevant as we often treat them as, because normally when we use moving averages, they are a guide of strength and direction of trend, and obviously when they start to cross over each other, that begins to make the case that the trend has come to an end, and we're going to have to not just reverse these, but we could almost start to treat them as resistances, as we used to previously treat them as support. They now may and could quite easily become resistances, and that's why we look at these crosses not as particular signals, but as a strength of trend, in this case a downtrend strengthening, because now there's more resistance above us, and we will look at these as resistance levels, not support levels like they've always been. For probably a lot of people's experience with Bitcoin, they've been support levels this entire time. Now they might easily be resistances, and this is where we start to flip our positions to bears, I suppose, or to short positions and things like that. Now, we don't play the cross until the cross has happened, and also, if you remember how we often play golden crosses, we do expect golden crosses to be dumped into, so I would expect a retest of potentially the 200 exponential here, and obviously because there's a lot of people wanting to get back on board and buy the dip, if they start to see Bitcoin rally to the tune of 57,500, it may have a continuation. So there is a chance that this death cross might get void, and it's because of the nature of how steep it's been forged through this one. Well, we could call it an anomaly wick, a black swan event type of wick, but basically slightly contrived. So we'll see how it plays out. It is something to be aware of. It's something to, I suppose, to respect. But also it would be interesting to see how it really does play out. Now, we came down again in the night. If we look at this on the 4-hourly, you could class this. I mean, this was a deeper wick, but the candle bodies were actually higher. It does look like this could be a double bottom. So there is every chance that this could be a point for an attempted reversal, and it's all about the 200 exponential on the 4-hourly to see if we get rejected there or not. My expectations is that we would get rejected there, just because, well, I mean, that is the most likely scenario at this point, but we'll have to wait and see, because it's not just a 200 exponential there. There's a 50 exponential. There's also the top of the Bollinger Band there. There's also this Ichimoku cloud there. There's a few things there offering significant resistance on the 4-hourly. So let's just quickly look at the daily and see how that's shaping up. So the daily technically is still not formed a lower low, not yet. A lower low would be formed at or below 51,500, and so on. As far as the daily is concerned, it's actually still holding up its structural integrity of this uptrend. I know that sounds crazy, but it technically still is. But we are below the 50 moving average and the 50 exponential moving average, and so far in this bull run we've not actually closed below there since back down here at about 10,000. Yeah, since launchpad time, 10,700. We've not been below there. We've not closed below there on a daily. Now we've actually we have closed there for the very first time last night. So we've opened there for the very first time since 10,000. So that's a big deal. We have to also respect the fact that this 50 exponential and this 50 simple and this 10 exponential and all of these areas are also potential rejection zones. So yeah, there is an argument now where it's becoming more of a level playing field between the bulls and the bears. And actually, time is running out, and we really do need to make that decision. But let me show you the silver lining of this dark cloud, right? So do you remember January, right? I remember it. And what happened in January is that there was a massive alt season as Bitcoin actually went into a downtrend, a significant downtrend, to the tune of about 30% or so from the top to the bottom. 30% thereabouts. Now, it was interesting, and to be honest with you, it was expected. I did expect to see not so much the downtrend with Bitcoin, but the rise of altcoins during that period. Because if we go to the Bitcoin dominance, back then we were significantly oversold with altcoins. Altcoins have been trashed for quite a prolonged period of time, not just in their Satoshi pairings, but actually in their dollar pairings. They were hitting the floor. They were scraping their knuckles on the floor. They couldn't really get a great deal lower. They were absolutely wrecked. But during that wrecking period, they were also showing really decent setups as well, pointing to a potential reversal around about January, mid to late January. So we got that, and technically we're still in that alt season phase. Might not feel like it, but we are. And I suppose you just have to look at where things were back in January and see where they are now, and then you would recognise that actually there has been an alt season since mid to late January, and it's been going on ever since. Now, obviously, it might not feel that way to some people right now because they're not going up every day, and I get that feeling on my Telegram chat when people and on the on my YouTube comments when people go, what's going on with this alt season, man? Well, I mean, the alt season is still here. The proof is in the pudding here. The alt season is basically showing strength between Bitcoin to altcoins or altcoins to Bitcoin. So we look at this chart to gauge that, and there's your proof. That's a big alt season already. In fact, this has been the biggest alt season since 2017. So yeah, alt season has been going on for a while, and technically it's still going on. Now, if we actually break down below 50% dominance, then I mean, I've not seen Bitcoin dominance below 50% since 2017. Now, am I expecting that? Every single time we come to a potential resistance zone, support zone, I do expect a bounce. And we've so far never really got them. We did bounce around these levels to start with, and then we've just gone straight through. Steeper than the original alt season. This, to me, is very interesting, and I have to really just hold my hands up and say, personally, I don't know how it's exactly going to play out. Now, when we go through the altcoins on my live streams, we have noted for a while now that altcoins, as in top cap altcoins, seem to be the strongest ones with the strongest setups, and they seem to be the ones that are benefiting the most. And that would account for why we're having such a steep move down here, because top cap coins collectively actually hold quite a large amount of market cap, and these small caps, they barely even register. So you might notice that some of your small caps, your favourite small caps, are getting wrecked, whereas things like Ethereum are just going from strength to strength. So we have a look at Ethereum here on the weekly. This is something that we've spoken about for a while now, and this is why I set my long-term bot up for Ethereum to Bitcoin, and it's performing just as we expected it to. So I started my bot up around about this dip, because if we look at the way that this chart moves, we have support, pump, support, pump, support, pump, down to support. We did break down below it ever so slightly, pump. This is where I set the bot up, and now pump. So we've just now made a new higher high on this nice rhythm. So this could continue a little bit further, definitely. I'm not going to suggest it's going to go a great deal further. This chart has so far performed as expected, which is why I set the bot up for Ethereum to Bitcoin and also set it up on that support zone. This would allow for that bot to hopefully consistently make these peaks and troughs and benefit me throughout the rest of the year, collecting me some more Bitcoin. But that's just the bots. If we look at this and just say, well, actually, why is Ethereum so strong and Bitcoin technically so weak? Well, sometimes what happens in markets, and you get this in any market, is you get a rotation. So money flows from one asset to the other, from that to another, from that to another. And generally because some of these coins, well, let's say coins or assets in normal traditional markets, have such a large amount of money involved in them, they keep their candles to an extent. You know, they go down, obviously, with the selling pressure, but they don't dump. Now, obviously, when you have an immature market like cryptocurrency, you know, it doesn't take a great deal. It takes very little for coins to dump because the market caps of some of these are very small. That as soon as you start taking the money out of them that have created those candles in the first place, they basically create much bigger, nastier, faster red candles once the money's taken out of them. It's not often the case. You won't often see that so much with traditional markets, although it does happen, but not as accentuated. So what we're seeing now, I believe, is the continuation of that rotation, and the rotation is clearly, in my opinion, going into the top cap altcoins. You just need to look at things like Ethereum Classic, even XRP, technically Dogecoin, you know, Bitcoin Cash. You know, there's lots of examples. Litecoin, I think, as well. Top cap coins are the ones that seem to be receiving the money right now. And if a rotation really does actually continue, what you would then start to see would be for the mid caps to then get their little piece of glory, and then finishing off with the small caps. So then all finally rotating back into Bitcoin and completing the overall rotation. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. At the moment, yeah, the top cap coins are the ones to be in, if anything, and Bitcoin obviously is worth always having some, because we do expect a bounce at some point with Bitcoin dominance. But it's an interesting way that it's playing out, because this is like a second wave of rotation that's going into the top cap coins, and we have to see how far that plays out. If it continues to play out and this dominance chart does continue to go down, then a further rotation into the smaller caps will likely take place. But I have to say, it just doesn't blindly go into any old coin. Every single coin needs to be judged upon its chart. And when we look at these on the live stream, we do notice that there is a lot of charts that look pretty rubbish, and there's absolutely no reason for them to be pumping at all, which is why they don't pump. So we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart and go, well, hang on a minute. We're dumping here. We're crashing. Doesn't this mean that alts should be going up? I mean, yeah, it does. But we have to base everything upon its chart. It's not like back in January where everything was oversold and it wouldn't take much for anything to pump, which is why we saw such significant pumps. You know, we got some really good ones, didn't we, on this channel? You know, we were doing Holochain, Harmony One, Seller, many of these that have pumped really well. Not really, in my opinion, not really looking to see those kind of pumps in this further pullback of Bitcoin dominance, because we're talking initially with we're talking about the top caps to the mid caps. Now, by the time that if there is a full rotation into those smaller caps, some of those smaller caps will, in my opinion, be likely to be trashed at that point. They will likely be trashed, and then when the final rotation kicks in, those smaller caps will probably see the pumps that we've become accustomed to seeing, I suppose, this year, which are the 2, 3, 4, 5x's and so on. But you won't really, we shouldn't be expecting those sort of moves from top caps, or some mid caps will probably see something like that, and perhaps. So all eyes on the top caps. Let's treat Bitcoin with a healthy degree of respect at these levels. It's technically not actually bearish yet. We don't trade signals until the signals happen, and even when this death cross does happen, and I say this all the time with golden crosses, it's not a signal, it's a sign. We don't trade a death crossing, we respect it for what it is, and we mark it as a potential downtrend, and we treat it as resistance to get in on a short or out at a bounce. We don't trade an actual crossing. That's a misconception. That's not how we should be looking at this. And it is a 4-hourly, and like I said at the beginning, it could already largely be priced in. There's no particular area, for it to hit because it had a death cross. It's just a sign of a potential further downtrend, which may sort of move on to the larger term time frames. So some people might say, well, death cross is, I've read on Investopedia that they carry out a 35% move. Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Do you know what I mean? Nothing is an exact science. So we look at this, and what I would say is that, yeah, it looks like we're going to enter into a downtrend if this were to happen, and the downtrend will go to as far as it goes before it reverses. All right? And that's all I really have to say about that. Anyway, I will leave it with you there, but thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy. Join my Telegram. Patreon, you get your access to live streams. If you want to get discounts on trading fees, then I've got a number of different ways you could do that in all the links below. So set your account up with Kucoin, Gate.io, Binance, all the links in the description below. And have a nice day. Take it easy.